What if a 10-year-old girl with big, bright round eyes and an adorably short mushroom haircut was one of modern history's most notorious child killers? At age 10, while other children were playing with dolls, Mary Bell, one of Britain's youngest killers, used her bare hands to end the lives of other children. The frightening thing was that this little girl found a strange happiness in watching her victim's breath fade away, in witnessing the pain, confusion, and fear of the victims' families and authorities. You are following the case of Mary Bell, the 10-year-old killer who took lives with her bare hands on the Crime Channel. And as usual, if this story leaves an impression on you, don't hesitate to leave a like as encouragement for us. And if this is our first time meeting, press subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated with the most thrilling cases. Mary Bell was born on May 26, 1957. Her mother, Betty, who was only 16 at the time, was a prostitute who reportedly had asked doctors to take her daughter far away from her. Mary Bell endured a terrible childhood. Her mother frequently traveled away on business to Glasgow, Scotland. Although she suffered both physical and mental abuse from her mother, the absence of her mother left little Mary in deep sadness. Once, Mary's aunt witnessed her mother trying to give the little girl to another woman. She quickly stopped this shadowy transaction and returned Mary to her mother. Mary also experienced strange accidents, once falling from a window, and another time suspiciously overdosing on sleeping pills. Many believe these accidents occurred when Betty was trying to get rid of her daughter. Others believed it was a case of Munchausen syndrome, meaning pretending to be ill to receive medical care. This was understood as Betty greatly enjoying attention and receiving sympathy from her daughter's misfortunes. Conversely, Mary confessed that she had been abused multiple times. Her mother forced her to have contact with men from the age of 5, and no one in the family knew about this. Also at age 5, Mary witnessed her friend being run over by a bus and dying. With everything that had happened, it's understandable that little Mary was always quiet and isolated, and later became controlling and violent. 4 weeks before the first murder, Mary Bell exhibited very strange behavior. On May 11, 1968, while Mary was playing with a 3-year-old boy, the boy suddenly fell into a hidden pit nearby and was severely injured. The boy's parents thought it was just an accident, but Mary and the child knew a different truth. The next day, 3 mothers reported to the police that Mary had tried to strangle their little daughters. Police questioned Mary, but quickly released her with a stern warning. Sadly, if these complaints had been handled more seriously, perhaps the future of this child and the lives about to be destroyed could have been very different. On May 25, 1968, the body of 4-year-old Martin Brown was discovered in an abandoned house. Initially, the case was considered a sad and unfortunate accident because the initial investigation found no clear signs or wounds on the boy's body. That day, 2 young men scavenging for wood entered the abandoned house and saw little Martin Brown lying sprawled under the window, next to an empty bottle of aspirin. This led police to believe the boy had overdosed on the medicine. Although there was dried blood and saliva from his cheek down to his chin, there were no signs of struggle or impact on the body. It seemed as if the boy had taken some pills, laid down, fallen asleep, and then never woken up. The 2 young men called some adults working nearby to the scene, and very quickly, many children also arrived. All were shocked and confused by this sad sight. The adults said they recognized Martin, the lovely boy they had given cookies to just about an hour before. They just couldn't understand how the boy had passed away in this cold building. 2 of the children tried to push through the crowd to get a clearer view of Martin's body. They were Mary Bell and Norma Bell. Despite sharing the same surname, these 2 children were not related. The police didn't know that Mary had lured the unfortunate child into the house, strangled him until he stopped breathing with her small hands. Then she led Norma there to show off her achievement. Afterward, Mary ran to find Martin's aunt, saying she had found Martin, his body covered in blood from an accident. The poor woman unknowingly followed her nephew's killer to the crime scene. In the days that followed, she was tormented by seemingly innocent but sinister questions from Mary and Norma, such as how the family was grieving and how much Martin's mother missed him. until Martin's aunt stopped opening the door. Mary knocked once and asked, "Can I see Martin?" "He's gone," the sad mother replied. "I know that. I want to see him in his coffin." Mary's words were truly horrifying to this poor mother, especially after learning that this little girl was the cold-blooded person who had taken her son's life. Even more frightening was that in a class assignment, Mary had drawn a picture of a boy lying under a windowsill in exactly the same position as Martin Brown was found, with a labeled medicine bottle. Mary titled the picture, "A Boy Lay Down and Died." Although she wasn't the only child who knew about the incident, Mary was the only one who drew this scene. It may sound strange, but Mary's teacher didn't suspect anything because she knew many children had heard about Martin's passing. Mary continued to attack other children and boast about her actions. Once, she pointed to the house where Martin was found and told the neighborhood children that this was where she had taken someone's life, then burst out laughing. On July 26, 1968, on her 11th birthday, Mary attacked Norma's sister so severely that her father had to use force to drive her away from the house. This wasn't surprising to those who knew Mary, as her temperament had become uncontrollable after Martin's burial. Mary wanted attention and turned to her best friend Norma's sister. She brutally beat the girl by scratching her face, kicking her head, and ending by saying that she was a killer and very likely would do it again. The children who witnessed this stepped back from Mary because she became too aggressive, but they might not have known the truth that Mary could very well be the murderer. In a photograph taken at a local protest urging the government to demolish abandoned houses to prevent accidents, two children held up banners. One of them was Mary Bell. Yes, the child killer herself participated in this event. Experts believe that killers often do this to satisfy their ego and keep the echoes of their murders lasting as long as possible. Although no official investigation began at the time of Martin Brown's incident, a coroner reported to authorities that it was very possible another child had attacked and caused the boy's death without leaving any signs of violence, because children's hands are much smaller and weaker than adults. On the same day as the attack on Norma's sister, the two friends decided to break into a nursery to vandalize it. The next day, staff discovered the mess the children had made, as well as chilling notes that police dismissed as pranks. One note read, "I am a murderer and I will return," while another wrote, "I took Martin Brown's life, you bastards." If these confessions had been taken seriously, at least one other child might have kept their life. On July 31, 1968, Mary and Norma struck again with another stranger child named Brian Howe, age 3, in a wasteland near where Martin Brown was found. After the boy died by Mary's hands, the two girls returned to use a razor blade to carve the letter N into the child's stomach, then changed it to M, the first letters of their names, Mary and Bell. Mary also used scissors to cut Howe's hair, cut his legs, and attacked his private area. Because the two girls were still very young and their testimonies were very contradictory, no one knows exactly what happened that day. However, what everyone could clearly see was the deep moral degradation in these children's souls. After the second child was killed, police began to suspect that the writing left at the nursery wasn't a sick joke, but actually a confession about Martin Brown's murder. They began gathering information on suspects. Throughout this process, police focused on children in the area and asked them about the recent murders. Among the children, two girls, Norma and Mary Bell, drew attention for their bizarre behavior. When Norma was questioned about the case, she couldn't stop laughing and showed extreme excitement about being part of the investigation. Investigators found that Norma wasn't behaving normally, but treated the whole process as a joke. Mary Bell had a similar reaction, avoiding questions and acting strangely during interrogation. Mary said she had seen Brian Howe playing with an 8-year-old boy at the accident site, then added that this child was carrying scissors. This testimony made police curious because they hadn't released information about the scissors to the public. At Brian's funeral, an investigator who monitored Mary Bell's behavior described her as having a sinister expression and continuously rubbing her hands in excitement. Because of this, the investigation team interrogated Norma again. This time, the girl confessed about everything that happened, including her friend's most horrific actions toward Martin Brown and Brian Howe. According to Norma, Mary said she really enjoyed strangling the two children and attacking the 3-year-old's body. For a period of time, the two girls blamed each other until Norma's parents came and explained that Mary had shown violence even toward their family, and their daughter played no role in the two murders. On December 17, 1968, Norma Bell was acquitted, while Mary Bell was convicted of manslaughter when doctors diagnosed her with serious mental illness. Judge Cusack described her as dangerous and a serious threat to other children. Mary was sent to Red Bank Juvenile Detention Facility in St. Helens, England, before being continuously moved throughout her detention period. After being convicted, Mary received a lot of attention from the press. Happy to blame her daughter's mental health issues for causing her terrible childhood, Mary's mother sold stories repeatedly across newspapers. She even sold books claiming they were written by Mary. It was sad that this woman tried to seek attention and profit from a child whom she had forced into prostitution and who later took the lives of 2 children. At age 11, Mary drew attention to herself again in September 1977 when she escaped from HM Prison Moore Court. Fortunately, she was recaptured and lost her freedom in prison for 28 days, a rather light punishment for a child killer's escape. After serving 12 years in many prisons, Bell was released at age 23. She was given complete anonymity to escape from the frenzied media and protect herself from attacks. Just 4 years later, she became a mother. It's hard to believe that Mary and her child lived in her hometown of Chelsea after her release, but the community ensured she didn't stay there for too long. While maintaining her anonymity, Mary was paid to have someone else write her life story book. This frightened the government so much that they banned its publication in England. Mary Bell's daughter was supposed to have her identity hidden until age 18. However, on May 21, 2003, Mary won a Supreme Court case to keep herself and her daughter anonymous for life. In England, there had never been a precedent for court protection of someone's identity for life, and now this privilege is called Mary Bell's Order. In 2009, the child killer became a grandmother. Mary had a second chance to nurture and protect another life. This contrasts with 50 years ago when she extinguished others' lives with just her bare hands. No one can be 100% certain about where Mary is at the present time. With lifetime identity protection, it might be very long until after when someone can find out where Mary went and will be able to share that when she passes away. But after a childhood of abuse, assault, trauma, and darkness, does Mary Bell deserve to live her remaining days as a normal person with a normal family? Or perhaps we shouldn't forgive a child who brutally attacked other children. What do you think about this case? Leave your opinion in the comment section below to discuss together. And before you leave, don't forget to press like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated with the most intriguing and fascinating cases on the Crime Channel.